So here I'm going to be giving my spoiler-free review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, more so than even the symbiote black suit storyline, the death of Gwen Stacy, or even the fights with the Sinister Six, the Spider-Verse has become the signature story of Spider-Man over recent years. Yep, multiverses. These days it seems like everyone's got one of those, and Spider-Man's is among or probably the most famous. We've seen the Spider-Verse over multiple different kinds of Spider-Man media, from the comics, multiple cartoons, animated films, video games, and even live action. The animated film mentioned is 2018's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It broke traditional Spider-Man formula by having Miles Morales as a protagonist instead of Peter Parker, but it was still a film so excellent and stylish that it stands out among not just the best superhero films ever made, but just animated films ever. It is one of the few non-Disney or Pixar films to win an Oscar for Best Animated Feature over the last decade or so. Naturally, there was always going to be anticipation for a follow-up, especially given how the film was supposed to come out last October to be specific, but now got pushed to summer of 2023. Regardless, the film is finally here, so let all Spidey fans rejoice. Without getting into any deep story spoilers here, after a fight with a new villain, Spidey, Miles Morales, finds himself caught up in another Spider-Verse adventure. But this time, instead of the Spider-Verse coming to him, he travels across the Spider-Verse. That title, Across the Spider-Verse, really comes into play here because this is a very large-scale adventure spanning many different universes and, of course, many different Spideys. The heart of the adventure is still, of course, Miles Morales, as he was in the first film. And just like any good Spidey adventure, there's a good amount of engaging drama when it comes to, of course, his superhero shenanigans as Spider-Man and his own family drama, and how he is still hiding his secret superhero life from his parents as Spidey while still trying to be a good son. And speaking about the family, by comparison, Miles' mom was really barely in the first film compared to this one. Here, she has a lot more time in this film, and her dialogue and humor are among the best that the film have to offer. You know, Miles' dad, Sergeant Morales, soon to be Captain, gets a good amount of time in this also, just like how he did in the first film. And he and the mom made for a great duo in this. When it comes down to it, a lot of Miles' motivation in this film boils down to his family, and that makes the stakes all the more effective in this. Among the biggest surprising aspects of this film was the use of the character The Spot. Now, the trailers showed him to be just sort of a random, not even villain of the week, amateur of the week. But he definitely ends up being a lot more than that in this film. He has one scene that is sure to blow first-time audiences away with what he shows he can really do in terms of his powers, and it's something that shows that this film can get as crazy as it wants at any moment. In talking about the crazy factor, the likely most memorable sequences in this film for audiences are going to be the scenes that really do bring this giant Spider-Verse together. Other than arguably Batman, Spider-Man has the richest history out of any superhero out there, and certain scenes had my audience, and admittedly me myself, just fanboying or geeking out at some of the stuff they had going on here. Whether it was an Easter egg, an image in the background, or a cameo that I can truthfully say I definitely did not see coming, there's just so much crazy fun stuff when it comes to the Spider-Verse in this one. One of the cameos here was something I had been waiting 14 Spider years to see, and I can say that it was truly spectacular to see, along with all the other great stuff they had here. Now, the trailers showcase Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, and how he was much of the driving force that was behind this legion of Spider-Man coming together. The character has the expected role that you would think based on the trailers, but the movie does rationalize his behavior when they explain what the stakes are and how it relates to Miles Morales in one really brilliant scene that really does create a great moral dilemma in this film, to where I'm still not sure what was truly the right thing to do was here. Besides the immense Spider-Verse fun, the other major fun here is the visuals. Into the Spider-Verse introduced this revolutionary animation style that just had this fantastic comic book look and feel to it that really did just stylize the action that much more. Since then, we've seen a lot of copycats try this style with varying degrees of success. We recently saw Puss in Boots and The Last Wish try this style. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is about to try it in a few months. But Spider-Verse, or really sort of any comic book film like Spider-Verse, are where these visuals are really just best suited for. What's great about the visuals and art here is just about how diverse they are. The first film really stuck to just being in Miles Morales' world, but you got hints of sort of different animation styles and visuals when you look at the anime type look and movement of Penny Parker or the more cartoony visuals and movement of Spider-Ham. Here, there are just some fantastic distinctive looks as they travel the Spider-Verse, and all of them look great. Even Gwen Stacy's world, which initially I thought would just be just sort of, the same kind of look and feel as Miles's world, has this visual dynamic about it where it looks like a painting, and there's even this weird but beautiful thing going on where the look or brightness of the scene changes with the mood or whatever is going on there. It's truly great stuff. Gwen Stacy, or Spider-Gwen or Spider-Woman, whatever you want to call her, she was great and into the Spider-Verse, but she definitely has more of a personal story in here that is helped by some great time that we spend in her world. Her opening scene and dialogue was just wow, just perfect stuff. If I had to nitpick one thing from this film, off only a first and only viewing so far, the soundtrack isn't as good as Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse had arguably the best original soundtrack, sorry Guardians, for a movie that I've ever heard. The first Space Jam would be the only thing that would compare soundtrack-wise for me. Now here, none of the songs are on Sunflower level, sort of the signature song from the first film, but hey, they're still good and really do sort of still fit the tone and whatever moments are going on here. To wrap things up, if Spider-Man No Way Home was a love letter to Spidey fans, this is like a love novel or a love encyclopedia to Spidey fans. You get a sensational mix of returning great characters, some that I haven't even mentioned yet, like Peter B. Parker, great story, spectacular artistry and visuals, and the type of Spider-Verse fun that you have to see with an audience to get the full sort of enjoyment out of. Across the Spider-Verse would get a 9.5 out of 10 for me. The only reason I really can't go full 10 out of 10 is because without giving away the ending here, the film is essentially part one of a two-part story. The original title for this film was going to be Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Now, they dropped the Part 1 off the title, much like how they had dropped the Part 1 off of Infinity War's original title. But the same principle applies here, where it's sort of the Part 1 of a story that's going to have another sequel. Now, it is a very cliffhanger-y type ending, and those just never really do feel like a complete movie or story for me, even though what we got was still great and excellent here. Like I said, you don't get that full satisfaction of seeing this full story translate or take place, but all will be forgiven when the sequel comes out. So that'll do it for this review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.
I looked at my uncle and...
let me guess. He died?